Hello everybody, welcome to week 8 of a year of game design, the video series where I document at least 30 minutes of game design every day for the calendar year 2020. Started on January 1st, approaching the end of February. 56 days now in here, so closing in on a couple of months. Things are still going really well. At the beginning, I was kind of working through a bunch of tutorials, but now I've been focused almost exclusively on building a platformer, a simple platformer called Tundra Runner, and that's mainly what I'm going to show now. There hasn't been a lot of variety of thought. It's pretty much just sit down every day, crank away for about a half an hour to an hour, sometimes a little bit longer, working on Tundra Runner, trying to get one thing or two things done, making progress. I feel like it's starting to get closer to the end, but then as I do that, I kind of think of a few more things I want to do, and it's starting to feel like, well, maybe it's going to be more than, I don't know. I was hoping about a week or so away, but I feel like it's going to be perhaps more like 3 weeks or something like that. But it is what it is, and we'll just keep driving forward. I feel like the learning is good, and so that's the most important thing. So let's dig in and take a look at some of the progress in Tundra Runner. I do have a confession to make. I shot this a few days ago, right after I hit the 7-day mark. This is a couple of days later now, and I've made some other improvements in the game. I realized there was a problem with the video. This is my week of technical video problems because I had another problem with one of my Let's Play series as well. So I'm going to jump forward to this day where there will be a few other things that are visible that I've accomplished since the end of week 8, but I'm just not going to talk about them. So we will jump in though. Let's take a look at what I got done in week 8. So here's some more progress in Tundra Runner over the course of the past week. Really happy with the results that have managed to take place. I feel like the game is starting to take shape, and I can kind of see the end game coming up, maybe another week and a half or 2 weeks or so. The first thing I wanted to try to do when I started this week, I kind of got distracted by the idea of, could we have snow in the game? A snowfall, just random snowfall, because it's a cold game. It'd be nice to have it snowing. And so I found a tutorial on YouTube somewhere that had this process for using the particle effect in the game. And the particle system in Unity is basically the system that allows you to have explosions and things like that and pieces flying all over the place. But it can be creatively used for a lot of different elements. And this was a guy who took the particle system, basically these pieces from explosions, and kind of transformed it into this system, which you can actually see here in the game screen right now. The system of having these particles fall down from the top of the screen at different rates and different types of characteristics. And so this was really a fun dive into the particle system, which isn't something I've had really spent a lot of time exploring much yet. And it was really cool. There are so many parameters that you can see on the right-hand side. I mean, this is the inspector that shows all the different parameters you can set up and use with the particle system. So he kind of walked through how you can kind of tweak these things. And that was cool in itself, and kind of drew some random snowflakes here. So if we look down here in these prefabs down on the bottom here, you can see this one right here that I've got them as these two just random, really simple pixel images that I brought in. And there on the left, you can see there are two systems, snow systems. One is for kind of big poofy flakes using one sprite, and the other is kind of for a little bit faster, smaller flakes coming down like that. And the end result I'm really happy with. If we take a look at it and run the game, you can see that as the player moves along here, you know, there's snowfall and there's two different types of flakes, and they're moving down at variable speeds, and they have some noise in them, so they're not always a straight line. They kind of wobble a little bit in different directions. And I think it just really creates this really kind of cool ambiance in the game, and they fade behind the background, so worked in how to pull them down in different levels. So I'm really, really happy with the result. But more than the result, there was a piece to this that I was super excited with. And if I can explain it, I think it was kind of a big learning moment for me, and I was really happy to do it. The problem was the tutorial just had the snowflakes falling down straight from this one place. Well, one of the problems that's immediately apparent is that if they're just falling down in one section, one part of one screen, as the player, oops, killing myself here on the spike trap, as the player would run along, there wouldn't be any snow. So obviously you want snow no matter where the player is, not just in this one spot in the scene. But if you randomly create snow over the whole width of the platform, you've got another problem because there's just too many particles. It would take thousands of particles. It's going to slow the game down. And it's just not efficient to have it snowing everywhere where the player isn't. Just want it to snow on the screen where the player is. So I had to figure out how I could do that. So one of the immediate things I thought of was, okay, I think I can attach the snow systems and make them a child of the player so that they will always follow the player around at a set distance above him. And so I did that, but then the problem was when the player jumps, the snowfall stays that same distance away and the snow would go up. And that looked really crappy. And so I was like, okay, that's not the solution. Then I thought, okay, well, I'll attach it to the camera because the camera kind of follows the player. But then the problem was when the player would run like this and the player would move left or right, the snow would then wobble left and right. And I thought, well, that's not quite the right solution either. And then I had an idea and I said, wait a second, I know how to solve this problem. So I'm going to just kind of jump in here to Visual Studio and show this really simple script that I wrote. But the thing that's really exciting about this is that I came up with the idea on my own, and I put the solution in place without having to look at a tutorial or anything like that. I just wrote the script, and it's super short. It's only, really, I'm only writing, I think, 3 lines of this 10 lines that you can see on the screen here. But the idea was, okay, I'm going to write a script, and I'm going to attach it to the snowfall that's going to tell the snow system to follow the player's X coordinate, the horizontal coordinate, but then always stay a consistent Y coordinate and Z coordinate away from the player. So that when the player jumps, the snowfall's not going to go, the snow system isn't going to move up and down. So it's just going to track the player like this and fall down at a steady rate. And so I wrote this whole script, 4 lines, big deal. I know, baby steps. But the key thing was I didn't need a tutorial. I did it from memory. And it was a problem, an idea, and a solution that I put in place without having to go outside of what's inside my brain. So that felt like that was a big moment. It's kind of like baby's first steps. And I was super proud of myself for being able to do that. So that felt pretty cool. Kind of jump forward now. There's a few other improvements that are visible. I had a technical difficulty with the previous video, so I'm a few days in the future, about 3-4 days in the future now, but I do want to show the things that I accomplished in week 8. So I mentioned the snowfall. The second thing that I was worked on was the background image here too. And this was something I didn't draw. I found the image on Pixabay, which is a great source for free images. And then I brought it into Photoshop and kind of pixelated a little bit. So now as the player moves along here, we can see this. We get, nice backdrop in there. It's better than that solid blue backdrop and things like that. So that's feels pretty good to get in there. And then the last thing that I worked on that starts to get at the whole kind of game management type of thing is to really go in and take a look at how the level ends. So as you get to the end of this level, I drew this cabin here. As you get to the end here, you lose control of the player, the cabin opens up, so it's a heating station, and then the game just automatically carries the player to the next level. And then this is going to be the level select layer. So you can come up to one of these doors and click on the door, basically jump on the door. I'm going to add some more cabins here for levels 3, 4, and 5. So this is a level select here, and these cabins unlock as you complete previous levels. So we just completed level 1, which is always open. Because we just completed level 1, level 2 is open. If I stand in front of the level 2 door and click jump, it takes you to this basically just a placeholder level for level 2. There's nothing on it here now. So some pretty good progress, I think, made with those things. And now let's jump in and take a little bit, talk for just a moment on how things are going motivationally. But it's all in all, it's been a good week here. So that's pretty much a look at what was accomplished with Tundra Runner in this past week. Going forward, I'm going to build forward from that cabin system to creating the menus, pause, game over, restart, make sure the game ends when the lives are all gone and things like that. And then I think moving into sounds, I'd like to think there's a couple weeks left, but it feels like there's each thing takes time. And some of these menu things are going to take time. So it might even be 2 or 3 more weeks to go before it's all wrapped up. But the thing that I've noticed this week that's been really positive, especially as it was in relation to that snowfall, I think that was kind of a big moment for me, is that I feel like I'm getting better. I feel like I still have a long way to go. But I feel like I'm getting better. But because I feel like I'm getting better, it's more fun. And because it's more fun, I'm spending more time at it, and I'm more kind of locked into it, if that makes any sense. And I think I've been pretty engaged the whole time. It's not like I'm half doing anything, but it's because I feel like I'm getting better, it's more fun. Because it's more fun, I'm working harder at it, and I feel like it's getting better. So it's starting to get into some kind of a good cycle. So I feel pretty good about that. I'm hoping that stays, I can kind of stay locked into that cycle of goodness, if you would. But that, I think, brings us to the end of this week. This is the end of week 8. We'll jump into week 9, and so far so good. I intend to keep going. Thank you again for stopping by. If you've enjoyed this video and you're enjoying the series, please consider giving a like. And if you're new, subscriptions are always greatly appreciated. Have a great day, everybody. I hope your game development journey is going well, or you're having a good time watching this one. Thank you. Bye.